Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going on a deep dive into a question that I think we've probably all asked ourselves at some point. What does it really mean to be honorable?
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it?
It is. And our source material is a sermon by Faiz al-Kandari, where he tackles this question based on a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, who is the most honorable among people?
Ooh, interesting. I like how direct that is. Gets right to the point.
It does, and it really makes you think, right? Because it's not like who's the richest or who has the most awards.
Right.
It's about something much deeper. And Al-Kandari really gets into the nuance of this, starting with this word, akram.
Akram.
You might think it just means like most generous, right? Like someone who gives a lot to charity.
Yeah, that's what comes to mind.
But Al-Kandari says, hold on, there's more to it than that.
Okay, so what's this other layer then?
Well, he's talking about a kind of nobility, a high standing that's like built in.
Inherent, you mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not something you earn exactly, but something that's like part of who you are.
I'm intrigued. So how do we even begin to understand that?
Well, Al-Kandari uses the example of angels. In the Quran, they're described as mukramun, which means honored by God.
Okay, I see where this is going. So the angels are mukramun
Because they're inherently honorable. Not because they did something to deserve it, but because it's part of their nature.
I see. It's like they reflect God's honor.
Exactly. It's a gift, almost.
Right, like being in God's good graces. And that's different from how we usually think about honor.
Oh, totally.
Right.
We often think of honor as something you achieve. You win a big award, you get a promotion.
I have a famous last name.
Right. And Al-Kandari is saying be careful about chasing that kind of honor because it can be a trap.
A trap? How so?
Well, because it's so fleeting, so temporary. It's like building your house on sand.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Like, think about all those historical figures who had fame and fortunes, right? But now they're remembered for all the wrong reasons.
Their scandals and their bad behavior.
Exactly. Their worldly honor didn't last.
Yeah, it's interesting how Al-Kandari emphasizes this contrast, right? Like he talks about believers being given these beautiful garments of faith.
Crowns of eternity.
Palaces in paradise. He's painting this picture of enduring honor, something that doesn't fade away.
It really makes you wonder then, what is true honor according to Al-Kandari? If it's not about worldly status, then what is it?
Well, he says it all comes down to this word, taqwa.
Taqwa. Okay. Gotta admit, I need a little help with that one. What exactly does it mean?
Well, it's often translated as God consciousness, but I think it's more about aligning your life with what you know to be right.
Even when it's hard.
Especially when it's hard. It's like having this inner compass that's always pointing you in the right direction. Like you're always aware that your actions have consequences.
Not just in this world, but
In a hereafter as well.
So it's more than just believing in God. It's about
Living your life in a way that reflects that belief.
Interesting. So it's about making those tough moral choices.
Yes. Resisting temptation, being honest, even when no one's looking. And this idea that taqwa is the true measure of a person, it actually comes up a lot in the Quran.
Real.
There's even a verse that says, "Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you."
Wow, that's powerful. It's almost like it levels the playing field, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Like your background, your wealth,
Yeah.
none of that matters as much as...
Your character.
Exactly. And to really drive this point home, Al-Kandari brings up this fascinating example, the lineage of the prophet Joseph.
Okay, now that's a family tree that's hard to beat.
Right. We're talking about a lineage full of prophets and patriarchs, going all the way back to Abraham.
I mean, you would think that would automatically make you honorable.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
But Al-Kandari is saying...
Not so fast.
He's saying that even that incredible lineage doesn't automatically guarantee your honor.
It's a powerful statement. He's basically saying true honor isn't inherited, it's earned.
So it's about taking responsibility for your own actions.
And striving to be righteous, regardless of your family history or your social status.
I like that. It's very empowering.
It is. And you know what I find really interesting? Al-Kandari acknowledges that good character can exist even outside of formal religion.
Oh, really?
He talks about how the best of people in pre-Islamic times would be the best in Islam once they understood it.
That's thought-provoking. So he's suggesting there's a universal moral compass, a sense of right and wrong that's present in all of us.
Exactly. And he links this to the concept of fitra.
Fitra.
It's like that innate sense of morality we're all born with, that pull towards goodness.
Like we all have the potential to live honorable lives, regardless of our background or beliefs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to really bring this concept to life, Al-Kandari tells the story of Umar ibn al-Khattab.
Umar. Now, his story is a classic. Talk about a transformation.
Right. I mean, this was a guy who was vehemently opposed to Islam in the beginning.
He was known for his strong personality and his loyalty to the old ways.
He saw Islam as a threat, and he didn't hold back in his opposition.
There are accounts of him persecuting early Muslims. He was serious.
He was. But what's amazing is, even though he was so against Islam,
he was also a genuine seeker of truth.
That's the key. The sermon emphasizes that. He was on his way to confront the Prophet Muhammad, actually.
Bro, with the intention of
harming him, yeah. But then he overheard his own sister reciting verses from the Quran.
Wait, his sister had converted to Islam.
She had. And something about the beauty and power of the words she was reciting.
It stopped him in his tracks.
It did. He was moved. Instead of confronting the Prophet, he went to his sister to learn more.
Wow. He chose dialogue over violence. He was willing to listen.
Exactly. And that openness, that willingness to question his own beliefs.
That ultimately led him to embrace Islam.
And become one of its most passionate advocates.
Incredible. So here's this man, Umar, who went from being a fierce opponent of Islam to
one of its greatest champions.
It's amazing what can happen when we're truly open to new perspectives.
It is. And it speaks volumes about the power of sincerity, right? That even someone so opposed to an idea can
have a change of heart.
And not just a change of heart, but a complete transformation.
It's inspiring, really.
It is. And it reminds us that true honor isn't about clinging to our preconceived notions.
No matter how strongly we hold them.
Right. It's about having the courage to question.
To be open to new perspectives.
And to be willing to evolve our understanding.
Because sometimes the things we think we know
are the very things that prevent us from discovering something truly meaningful.
I love that. It's like to make space for something new.
We have to be willing to let go of what we think we know.
And that brings us back to this central theme of the sermon, right?
Yeah, true honor isn't about clinging to the past or blindly following tradition.
It's about aligning ourselves with what's ultimately right.
Even if it challenges us.
Even if it takes us outside of our comfort zones.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder how much of what we consider honorable is really just societal conditioning.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like expectations we've inherited without even questioning them?
Worth thinking about. But Al-Kandari's sermon offers this different framework.
Right.
A framework based on taqwa.
That inner compass that guides us toward what's right.
Yes. And it makes you think about how you live your life, doesn't it?
It really does. But it also begs the question, how does this all apply to the listener?
Right. Like someone hearing this concept of taqwa for the very first time. What does it actually look like to live a life of taqwa in the real world?
It's a great question, and that's exactly what we'll explore when we come back.
Stay tuned.
So we were talking about Umar and how he went through this incredible transformation from opposing Islam to becoming one of its most devoted followers.
Yeah, it really highlights the power of sincere truth-seeking, doesn't it?
It does. It shows that even when we hold strong beliefs, we can still be open to changing our minds when presented with new information.
And Umar's transformation wasn't just a personal change either. It had a huge ripple effect on the early Muslim community.
Oh, I bet. I mean, they were facing a lot of opposition at that time. To have someone like Umar, who was once such a staunch critic, join their ranks.
It must have been incredibly validating and encouraging.
Absolutely. So his story really serves as a reminder for all of us, right? True honor isn't about clinging to our old ideas no matter how much we cherish them.
It's about having the courage to be open to new perspectives, to question our assumptions, and to be willing to change our minds.
Because sometimes our most deeply held beliefs can actually be the things that hold us back from discovering something truly meaningful.
That's a great point. It's like we need to create space for something new to take root. And that might mean letting go of some of our old ways of thinking.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that core message of the sermon, right? True honor is not about worldly status or blindly following tradition.
It's about aligning ourselves with what's ultimately right and true, even when it challenges us.
It makes you wonder how much of what we consider honorable is really just like stuff we've been taught by society.
That's a good question. Like expectations we've inherited without even realizing it.
Right. But Al-Kandari offers this alternative framework based on taqwa.
That inner compass that guides our actions toward righteousness and integrity.
Okay, but how does that play out in everyday life? I mean, how does someone actually live a life of taqwa?
Well, I think it starts with being mindful of our intentions. Why are we doing the things we do?
Are we trying to impress others?
Or are we acting from a deeper sense of what's right, even if no one's watching?
So it's about being honest with ourselves about our motivations and choosing to do the right thing simply because it's the right thing.
Exactly. And that's not always easy, is it?
No, definitely not. We're human. We slip up.
We make mistakes. We give in to temptation. But taqwa isn't about being perfect. It's about that commitment to course correcting.
To getting back on track when we falter.
Because ultimately, it's not about external validation.
It's about cultivating that inner sense of integrity.
Living in a way that aligns with our deepest values, regardless of what others think.
It's about recognizing that our worth isn't tied to things like social status or wealth.
It's about the choices we make, the impact we have on the world, and the legacy we leave behind.
And that legacy is built on those small, everyday acts of integrity, those moments when we choose to do the right thing even when it's difficult.
And when we strive to live up to our highest potential, even if it goes unnoticed by the world.
I think that's what makes this concept of taqwa so powerful. It shifts the focus from external validation to internal growth.
It reminds us that true honor is something we cultivate within ourselves.
And that's a message that's so relevant today, isn't it?
In a world that often seems obsessed with appearances and fleeting measures of success.
It's a call to return to what truly matters.
To those values that endure.
So as we continue this deep dive, we want to ask you, the listener, how does this concept of taqwa resonate with you?
Does it challenge your own assumptions about what it means to live an honorable life?
It really gets you thinking about what truly matters, doesn't it? This whole idea of taqwa as the ultimate measure of honor.
It does. And what I find so inspiring is that it's accessible to everyone. It's not limited to a select few.
Exactly. It's not about your background or your social standing. It's about cultivating that inner awareness, that commitment to aligning your actions with what you know to be right.
Right. So someone might be listening and thinking, okay, taqwa sounds good, but how do I actually do that?
Yeah. How do you put it to practice in everyday life?
Well, I think it starts with small steps, really. Just becoming more aware of those moments where you have a choice to make.
Oh, interesting. So what kind of choices?
Well, do you choose the easy way out or the path of integrity? Do you prioritize your own self-interest or the well-being of others?
So it's about being intentional, really thinking about the why behind your actions.
Exactly. And, it's not about being perfect. We're all going to mess up sometimes.
Yeah, we're human after all.
Right. But it's that commitment to getting back on track, learning from your mistakes and trying to do better next time.
So it's like a muscle you build over time. The more you practice making choices that align with taqwa, the stronger that inner compass becomes.
Exactly. And ultimately, that impacts every area of your life, right?
Totally. Not just in terms of your own inner peace and sense of fulfillment, but also in the way you interact with the world around you.
Yeah, it's like that ripple effect. When you make choices rooted in integrity and compassion, it creates a ripple that extends outward to your relationships, to your community.
And ultimately to the world at large. So it's about more than just personal growth then.
Oh, absolutely. It has the potential to create real change.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. And it all comes back to that question we asked earlier.
Yeah.
What do you want to be remembered for?
When you're gone, what will your legacy be?
Will it be about the things you achieved, the stuff you accumulated? Or will it be about the kind of person you were?
The impact you had on others.
And I think taqwa offers a compelling answer to that question.
It suggests that true honor, the kind that lasts, isn't about what you have, but who you become.
And that's a process, a journey. It's not a destination you arrive at.
It's about that constant striving to align your actions with your values, to be the best version of yourself.
And who knows? Maybe this deep dive, maybe this conversation has planted a seed, sparked a new awareness.
That might just blossom into something truly remarkable. So keep those questions in mind. Keep diving deep. And keep striving for that true, enduring honor that resides within you.
Until next time.